Hey guys, we're going to be going live with you here in, about 11 minutes, 10 minutes, 6 minutes after the hour. Just getting some stuff ready for you for the show. Long day. Got in at 6 o'clock this morning from overnight literal red-eye flight out of Salt Lake City from the GRPC, the Gun Rights Policy Conference. Today we'll be hearing from Alan Gottlieb, one segment, I believe still in Salt Lake, and AWR Hawkins, Paul Markel, all these folks were in attendance at the convention, of course, at the conference, I should say, and John Lott, Paul Markel, Ryan Petty and the crew, Brad Premo and Justin Moon in the Roundtable. Obviously, we have a lot going on around the country today, so we're not going to talk about the conference the whole hour or 3 hours. I can promise you that we'll get some commentary from the guys about it. But other than that, we've got a lot of ground to cover with you today. So stick around with us. We'll be back with you here shortly, okay? And we're live. Apple juice. Sugar-free Red Bulls.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Oh, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast. The Sunday edition, of course, is the Monster Cast, begins right now. This is, Greg, the last Sunday in September, if you can believe that. And we're getting ready to head into October. And it has been, needless to say, a very, very busy weekend, folks. So welcome inside the Car Firearms Group studios with me. I am Mark Walters, of course, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day today here in the CZ studios on this Patriot Mobile microphone. And it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. I want to point out that we are live for you on video, on camera, over at X, and you can follow us there at AAR Mark, and I appreciate you doing that. Make sure to like the post, repost it, and make sure to subscribe to the Armed American Radio podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Greg, we're also live on Facebook, facebook.com/Armed American Radio. I'll let you take the rest of it away from there, and then we'll get started, get cracking with this edition of Armed American Radio's Monster Cast. There's a lot to cover.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over at X, we're at AAR Mark. You can also head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. To join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
I appreciate that, Greg. Thank you very much. Let's go to the phones. I believe still in Salt Lake City, Utah, Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation. And I will just tell you now, ladies and gentlemen, that we wrapped up the Gun Rights Policy Conference today, at noon. I got home today at about 5:06 a.m., but the conference did continue today. I wanted to be here in time to never miss this radio program. I will never do that for you on a Sunday, I can promise that, but Alan Gottlieb is still there. Alan, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation and creator of the GRPC. How you doing, brother?
I can't believe that you're not here anymore, because you were just here a blink an eye ago, and now you're in your studios across the whole country.
Isn't that, well, do I have to tell you how weird it feels for me? I didn't get in until 5 o'clock this morning. It was, like you just said, I blinked, and I was home, and just 4 hours earlier, I was in an Uber with Parkland Father Ryan Petty heading to the airport for an 11:45 p.m. flight. It was the weirdest thing. But here we are, Alan, and thank you for being here. I know you're exhausted. We all are. It was a power-packed weekend, and I just want to say this on behalf of myself, and I know I'm speaking for the many people that were at the conference. That was, at least during my tenure anyway, the most informative gun rights policy conference, Alan, I have ever attended, let alone participated in MC. That was incredible. Thank you for the effort. That was huge. I would really like your thoughts on it, and I'm going to let you take the segment and tell us what happened and what people missed if they weren't there.
I think that was probably more information-packed. I think you're right. It was more information-packed than any GRPC we've ever had. I actually don't know how we did it quite that way, but I felt really good about it. I learned a lot, and I'm one of the leaders of the movement, and it's amazing what I learned sitting in the room. There's a lot of great things going on across the country, not just legally, but on the grassroots level of people doing all kinds of things. It was amazing. You did an excellent job, by the way, moderating it on the first day.
Thank you.
It was just fantastic. And, of course, you missed today because you were in the airplane, on the way home. Today was just power-packed with information as yesterday's was. It's hard to say for me to describe to people what they missed. And probably the best thing they can do is they go to saf.org to the GRPC, look at the agenda, take a look at all the speakers and the subjects that were covered, and that would probably be the best way, since we don't have a lot of time, for people to see what they may have missed. But they didn't really miss it because it's archived on the Second Amendment Foundation YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube under the Second Amendment Foundation and look up the GRPC 2025, you can take a look at it, and it's it's there forever and everybody can get the benefit of it, which is really a tremendous thing from GRPC, even if you weren't here. So I'd urge people to do that. I won't waste a lot of time going through it, but I thought that the panel that you did, I can't really call it a panel. It was like, a conversation.
Fireside chat.
And, fireside chat. Thank you. I'm a little exhausted as well with the, Speaker of the House, the Arizona legislature, the Attorney General of Montana, and I think it was the head of the House Judiciary Committee here in Utah. I think that discussion you had with them were really great, and it shows how attuned some of our elected leaders across the country are in states across the country for what needs to be done. I really love that one a whole lot because I think it gave a lot of people an uplift in the audience to show how we're fighting back to get our rights.
You know what I took away from that, and I agree with you, that was not just because I was on that in doing the interview on the stage for those 45 minutes, but the information that came from those three guests. And again, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll go ahead and name names. It was Steve Montenegro, the Republican Speaker of the House of Representatives of Arizona, Austin Knudsen, the Montana Attorney General, who you've heard on the program before, and Carrie Ann, listen, I'll make sure I pronounce her name right, so I'll correct that when we come back. I'll check that during the break. But what I took away from that, Alan, I think is one of the most important messages that came out of GRPC, and that is how all of the states are actually working together behind the scenes that the public doesn't see. When Austin initiates amicus briefs in 26 other states to support those other states as the AG of Montana, we generally don't hear about that unless people may read our press releases. They might not get that because it doesn't make national news. But boy, I'll tell you, we're working hand in hand out there. And as you know, what happened in Michigan today, and yes, we're going to talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, throughout the program. Yet again, we're under attack in America. That's for later on in the show. But Alan, the gun grabbers were coming after our guns yesterday. Today, they're 50, 100 times fold what they were just yesterday as a result of that. So it is critical, ladies and gentlemen, that you pay attention to what's going on here. And I have to agree with you. But it was really refreshing to see that, Alan. So thanks for putting that panel together, frankly.
Yeah, it was. And speaking of state legislators, because I didn't even know this, because when people register for the conference, I don't necessarily know who they are from across the whole country. We had legislators, from Massachusetts,
Illinois.
from Illinois, from Nevada, from Arizona, from Utah, from Montana, and there were a few other states as well that just registered to be attendees to help fight for gun rights. And I didn't even know they were elected officials. Mm-hmm. The crowd, the kind of people we're drawing to GRPC these days is significantly greater, so to speak, in their impact in the gun rights movement than they were a decade ago.
Yeah, and then you get the fun guys out there too. John Lott gave an amazing presentation yesterday for 30 minutes. It was the greatest I've ever seen him give. He'll be here later in the show to talk about it. Jared Yanich, YouTuber, big guy. Guys, you guys know who we're talking about. YouTube, if you watch Guns and Gear, phenomenal stuff. Mark Smith, Four Boxes Diner, etc. So they were all there in attendance, and it was just fantastic. Now we don't know where it's going to be next year yet. I don't think, or am I missing something? Do we know? We don't know where it's going to be yet, but we'll make sure to make that announcement.
Yeah, there's a half a dozen cities on the list, our target list, and it's a matter of being able to refine it and find the kind of hotels that are perfect for us that we can do it at. So we probably won't know till near the end of the year or probably January exactly where it's going to be.
Alan, let's talk very briefly about the news that broke today in Michigan. I've got you for about another minute and a half. And Chuck Schumer wasted absolutely no time. It made me sick to my stomach to see what he said. Now, of course, the Brady campaign's out there, but here's some of what I'm hearing that they're getting on their side, that what we're witnessing in America with this political violence and this attack on Christianity, et cetera, is Trump's America. That angered me because most violence is Democrat-run cities, Alan.
Yeah, that bothered me too. And also, I love how Schumer et al. and the gun ban lobby goes after the gun he had. They ignore the fact that he had a bunch of explosive, improvised explosive devices and set the whole church on fire and burnt it down. Mm-hmm. So you're going to ban matches as well. I mean, their selective attack on gun ownership and gun rights and firearms is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, you're absolutely correct about that. There were 3 IEDs that were found. The truck was beeping when law enforcement got there. So they knew that they had a problem. And of course, the church was burnt to the ground. It was absolutely awful. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we will talk about that later. Alan, we've just been told we've got 30 seconds. Phenomenal. Let me thank you again on the microphone. And thank you. I know how tired you are. I know how busy you were this weekend. We all were. Congratulations on putting on just another incredible event. Where do people need to go to join us so that they can attend the next one and get involved with us real quick?
Again, saf.org. And look at watch this one. I mean,
yes.
don't miss what was uncovered now. Don't worry about getting notices for next year. You got to watch this one.
Yeah, and you can, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you where to do that again when we get back from the break. Alan, I watched today's live.
Funny.
And there were already several thousand, and we'll have several 100,000 viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're one of those viewers. We'll be back with AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News, who was our first speaker at the GRPC this weekend. We'll be right back. Thank you, Alan. Radio.
I'll bring him in as soon as it calls.
By the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Don't take a sip of my apple juice until the mic goes live. I don't know why I do that. Why do I do that? I don't know. It's a thing. I need to change that, Greg. You need to remind me.
Well, you were definitely telling me all about about things happening over the weekend during the break, and you just didn't take a second to take a sip as well.
Yeah, guys, we had a huge weekend. And by the way, welcome back. You heard the National Rifle Association rejoin. Doug Hamlin, the executive vice president and CEO of the National Rifle Association, had an opportunity to meet with him for a while. And of course, he was one of the speakers. I had the privilege to introduce him as a speaker. Guys, listen, if you're not a member, I have to point this out. The mere fact that the NRA was there, I had people come up to me throughout the weekend and say, wow, it's so cool to see the executive VP, the CEO of the National Rifle Association here at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. He's got Wayne LaPierre's old job. I don't recall ever seeing Wayne LaPierre at the GRPC. And not only that, but you had Joseph Greenlee and one other. So there were 3 representatives from the NRA. The point that I'm making, ladies and gentlemen, they're in it, man. They're in this game harder than they've ever been before. Please join them or renew your membership. And as I said, I'm going to give you the promo code AAR, nra.org/AAR, and we're going to give you a range bag for a 1 to 3 year membership, and we're going to give you those binoculars. And a number of people came up to me at the GRPC and said, I just want to let you know that I'm signing up for life, or I'm signing up for 5-year membership, or I'm signing up for 3. I want the range bag. And more importantly, I want to help the National Rifle Association grow. Please be one of us. Please help us. This organization is working with the other rights organizations unlike anything I've ever seen before. And we need you to help us because we are the backbone. We are the NRA. And if you're following what's going on in Michigan and you're following that, I almost said a bad word, Twitter X, whatever you want to call it nowadays, and you're watching the hate come after you because of what happened, it's the National Rifle Association, ladies and gentlemen, that is right there at the forefront along with the rest of us. So please, please, please join us. It's real simple, nra.org/AAR, and we'll send you that cool free stuff, and you can join us. It's that simple. Let's go. So we have AWR on the phone now?
Yep.
AWR Hawkins Breitbart News, my good friend. I saw you this weekend. Didn't get to spend as much time with you as I would have loved to, unfortunately, because we're extremely busy, as you were as well. Welcome in, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Good to be with you.
Are you tired? Alan was tired. Alan was he was beaten.
You know what? I got good sleep last night, but I have been typing all day.
Yeah, well, you've had a lot to type about.
My daughter's home. I was going to have a day hanging with them, but I ended up having to have a day sitting in front of screens watching news and typing.
Yeah, and it was your early report that alerted me to what was happening in Michigan. We'll get to that in a few minutes. I want to focus briefly in this segment on the Gun Rights Policy Conference because you played a major role. And I got to tell you, AW, I had a lot of fun introducing you yesterday. You were the first speaker. And it was fun because I asked the crowd if they're listening to Armed American Radio, and the vast majority do. And I said, well, then you'll understand when I ask you to help me introduce our first speaker. I went back and watched it today, and I had made the mistake and said my first guest. I guess that's just a habit doing this every day. But I said, if you're going to be dumb, and the crowd said, don't be dumb in Texas, and they introduced you for us. You have a lot of fans out there for a reason, brother. Thank you. So what was your takeaway from the Gun Rights Policy Conference? What do you want listeners here's the great way to frame this question. What do you want people to know who weren't there about the importance of this conference and what it meant and to be able to speak there? What does that mean? Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, I thought it was the best gun rights policy conference yet. Right. And I told Alan that, I told Adam that. I think the quality of speakers, they kind of made some, I don't want to say better decisions because that sounds like I'm talking down, but I think they really worked at getting upper tier speakers, and they succeeded. You had attorneys general, you had state House speakers, you had I think we had a state senator. We had another state House member. You had attorneys who are fighting Second Amendment cases. You just said we could keep going. And you had Chris Cox, who is...
let's not forget Chris.
I really liked. I mean, we could go on and on. You just had a great group of speakers, and I believe you had good energy and camaraderie among everybody. It was a very, very good weekend, and I believe everybody learned some things. And I don't mean like I taught people. I mean, we all learned things. I mean, I know I did, and I hope people learned some stuff from what I said, but I can guarantee you I learned some stuff from what they said. It was that kind of quality that I took away from it, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go to YouTube and just search on YouTube Gun Rights Policy Conference. It's split into two videos, the Saturday session and the Sunday session. It's very clear, and you can watch the entire main event on Saturday and the event today that closed out at 12 o'clock noon. That wrapped up the Gun Rights Policy Conference. But, I was fortunate enough to have dinner with the Speaker of the House of Arizona, Steve Montenegro, who was a wonderful guy. And what was interesting to me was here you have the Speaker of the House of Arizona, widely regarded, AWR is the most gun-friendly state in the country. And, of course, Quang Nguyen, the chairman of the House Judiciary, was with us for dinner, along with Ryan Petty and some others, who was learning. He said, I had no idea the depth of this movement to protect our Second Amendment. As the Speaker of the House in Arizona, he was taken aback, really, and shocked and thrilled to learn what he learned. So when you've got people at that level of government in the state government whose eyes were opened by this conference, it really speaks volumes as to the importance of this conference going forward, because it lays out the future of what we're going to do for the next year, really, in the gun rights movement by looking back at where we've been and where we need to go forward. Is that a safe way to assess that, you think?
Yeah, but you just did a history lesson from my favorite professor during my master's, Bruce Brazenton, Professor Bruce Brazenton, good doctor. He used to always say, Hawkins, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going.
It's a great point, and it's a true statement. And it was fascinating to see, the Arizona speaker. And I spoke to all the state legislators. Of course, I interviewed a bunch of them. But fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch this. You will learn a lot from this. And it's fun to watch. I tried to make it as fun as possible on Saturday, but it's a very long day. But the speakers take it away. They're just that good. And the knowledge and depth and breadth of this movement is on full display, because you have all the powers, the power hitters that are all right there in one room and giving you the information that you need. AWR, we've only got 30 seconds, so let me do this. When we come back, I want to take it to Michigan and talk about some of the things that you're writing. I want to get some analysis on this from you. I have maybe some controversial comments to make about this, and maybe you can set me straight. Maybe you can tell me I'm wrong. Maybe you can agree with me. You can disagree with me. But I'm at a point now where I'm about fed up to my neck with what's going on, and I'll just give you a hint here. Some of the responses that we're seeing on social media to what happened in Michigan and who they're blaming is remarkable. So we'll talk with AWR Hawkins about what's going on in Michigan and more news. There's a lot happening out there, a lot to cover with you today. Armed American Radio's Monstercast is just getting started. Second half of the first hour with AWR Hawkins, who will remain with us for the next two segments, begins at 34 minutes after the hour. Don't go away. We'll be right back. You're not going to want to miss it. Guys, if you want to follow along with us while I'm talking with AWR Hawkins, you can head over. Just search, if you're on your computer, just search AWR Hawkins Breitbart News. Search that. And you'll see everything that he's written today. And we'll go down that list as we tend to do with AWR, and that's how we cover what he writes about. And I do want to remind me, Greg, please, to congratulate him. He did win the Journalist of the Year award.
AWR?
Yeah. I'll just leave this piece up right here. That will remind me of
As
that.
a reminder?
Yeah, I've got it up right now. Our mics are live, by the way. Hola, by the way, to all of you watching on X and watching on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble. Great to have you here. Please like and share the post if you would. We would appreciate it. And if you don't yet follow at AAR Mark, please do so. Give us a follow over there and help us take our social media back. It's always an uphill battle, guys. They don't like what we talk about. Too bad for them. Comments like this on a live stream probably don't help either, but too bad.
$30.
Yeah, we're rolling right along. As suspected, the body count is going up in Michigan as we speak live.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker, and you're tuned into the Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
Yeah, welcome back in the studios with me, guys. Car Firearms Group Studios, to be exact. Mark Walters in front of. Yeah, I love this stuff. The Patriot Mobile mic here, Car Firearms Group Studios CZ mic at the Patriot Mobile Communication Command Center. It's all brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Please visit all of our great partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Centerfire Digital is one of them. If you own a business, if you need some web work done, work with a company that wants to work with you because they are like-minded like us. They're one of us. Centerfiredigital.com. Make sure to check them out. And we'll talk about more of our great partners throughout the rest of the remainder of the program today. But you can find all of them, including all of our title sponsors, at armedamericanradio.com. We hope you do that. AWR Hawkins, welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group Studios with me. Before I get started with you, I want to congratulate you because you also won, while you were there, the Journalist of the Year Award, which is quite an honor. That's not the first time you've won that before. And you have a piece up, there's a piece up at Breitbart. Alex Marlowe over there commented, the editor-in-chief at Breitbart, about your achievements at Breitbart News. And he was very praiseworthy of you. So congratulations for that, my friend. That's a big deal.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it meant a lot to me. And I think I told you, because I didn't see it coming, especially, that made it mean so much to me. And anyway, that's all. I don't want to talk about me, but it was an honor, and I was very thrilled to receive that.
Yeah, well, don't be afraid to talk about you. You've earned it. No question about it, the amount of work you've done. I don't think anybody in this space gets the visibility that you do, and it means a lot to all of us. And guys, that's why it's so important when we have AWR here that gives us his time. I hope you appreciate it as much as I do, that he gives us so much of his time on this broadcast and makes those rare daily appearances well when there's breaking news. And AWR, we're getting a lot of alerts in because the Michigan story is breaking as we're live on the air, and they have updated that at least 4 dead. And I hate to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, but there's more coming in this. And law enforcement has said because the church was burned down that there were others that were in there, and they're afraid they're going to find more victims. So this is not, obviously it's a bad situation, and it is unfortunately going to get worse. AWR, I'm going to make a controversial comment here, and you can set me straight. I'm trying not to let my anger get the best of me, but I think what I'm about to say is prescient. I think it's true. You know, you've got one side looking at, look, it's a righty, look, it's a lefty, when we see this horrific violence across the country. And here's where it might get a little controversial. But I think we can say this and mean it and be right. This is indicative of the clear division in the country. One side wants to point to the other, which tells me there's clearly two sides here that are at each other's throats. And it is manifesting itself in extreme violence. I don't know anything about this shooter, and I'm going to defer to you on this because you're in tune with this. But at this point, I can't tell you anything else about him other than I know it was an Iraq war veteran. I've seen pictures of the truck, photographs of him, but we don't yet know anything about him. And usually when that happens in the media, well, we generally know that they're holding something back. Are you getting that sense right now? But I do want to say this. Ladies and gentlemen, this country, whether you want to believe this or not, is at war with itself. AWR.
I don't know what to think about this guy. I mean, like you said, that's all we know. That's all I can go on. 40-year-old former Marine who was an Iraq war vet. I have heard, I believe he had family, and so I bet his family's pretty shocked. But that's all I know. I don't have any big revelations to make regarding there. This is coming out kind of slow, and I figure what's going to happen. I figure they're going to figure out that either he had ties to someone or something. That's just my guess, but
a highly educated guess, though. AWR. We've done this a lot together, and we see patterns develop, right? Overall.
Right. Well, it's just they've slow rolled some. When they slow roll things, it does make you suspicious. Mm-hmm. But the catch, there are so many things you could be suspicious of. You don't know what you should be suspicious about, and so that's what I'm saying. That's why that's part of the. There was a piece today I delayed at Breitbart. I had all the information, but I just wasn't 100% sure. I was 98% sure, and so I just messaged everybody at the office. I go, I'm just holding this one, folks. And I knew everybody wanted it up, but you got to wait till you're 100% because you roll on facts, you don't roll on opinion. And so I'm waiting for them to drop the other shoe.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, honestly, because you do have to work on the facts. This is an opinion show, and we can bring our thoughts out here, but at the same time, we have to be careful. I don't want to make it sound like we're giving a piece of news information of something we don't know. Folks, we're talking about patterns that we've seen develop over the years, and I like the way you frame that, slow roll it, because that is what they do. I will say this with certainty. This is clearly another attack on Christianity. Now, again, I could be wrong about that. You could just have some wacko lunatic that made a determination that there's a lot of people in there right now and I want to kill a lot of people and that's where I'm going to go. It could be that. But in hindsight, we look back at these things and that's generally not what we see. I will say this, and you wrote about this, the police response to this was incredibly fast. They were on that scene in less than 30 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true? Isn't that what you're reporting?
Yeah, 25 seconds from time of call to but here's the thing. I'm going to say something. As fast as that wasn't fast enough.
Right,
I'm not
there you go.
The police. Don't get me wrong. Police did a phenomenal response time. But you got to have people in these churches who are there. So what's their response time? It's instantaneous. Mm-hmm. That's what you need because police arrived. The call was placed at 10:25 a.m. and 32 seconds. Police arrived at 10:25 a.m. and 57 seconds. That's 25 seconds. But they didn't kill this heathen until 10:33 something. So no matter how good or bad you are at math, that's a pretty simple one to figure out there. This dude had roughly 7.5 to 8 minutes to do what he wanted to do. That's a long time.
Oh, yes, it is.
So-
And long enough that the church was burnt to the ground, long enough that there were 3 additional IEDs found, long enough.
What I want somebody, I got to think how to word this. The next person that chooses to attack a church, I'll put it that way. The next person that chooses to attack, what I want is when they grab their firearm and they're running through the door or coming through the window, I want surveillance video to catch the shotgun blast that doubles them up and throws them back out that window. And then to catch, which they'll have to edit this because we just can't handle it apparently, and then to catch another armed member of that congregation coming out and putting one more in him to be sure he's gone.
When are we going to figure this out? No, that's a great point. So I'm going to ask this.
If we have that one time, literally, if we have that one time, it'll be a long time till you have another church shooting.
We have evidence that works. When are we going to figure this out? When are the churches going to figure this out? That this is what must be done.
I'll tell you this. And, well, I won't say that. I will say it. I shouldn't say it, but I will tell you this. When Heidi and I are in town where we can go to church and we go to church, I'll guarantee you, if someone like this comes in there, boy, you'll be able to read newspapers to him when we're done with him, because we will fill him full of holes.
Folks, this is the reality of where we are today. As sad and pathetic as it is, this is the reality of where we are. I don't care what we find out the motivation here is. What I am going to tell you right now is this was clearly another attack on Christianity. Your way of life in this country is under vicious assault. There are people who want you dead. And if you attend any church, no matter what denomination, you had better understand that someone out there hates you and wants you dead. How much more proof of this do we need? We'll be back. One more segment with AWR Hawkins.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Welcome back indeed. Attorneysonretainer.us is the real deal. I want to thank Joey from Attorneys on Retainer, who was there at the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Salt Lake City. They had a presence there. Guys, this is the real deal. Attorneys on Retainer. I'm holding up the card if you're watching on your devices, your television sets, wherever you're catching us. And I'm going to ask you, please don't be foolish. If you carry a firearm, you know bad things can happen. We're talking about it right now, what can happen. Now, in a situation like that church shooting, you likely are not going to need an attorney. However, if you're at the grocery store, wherever you may find yourself out and about, you know there's bad things that can happen. That's why you carry a firearm. Have an attorney on retainer, literally on retainer. In this card right here says, I have an entire team. You can do the same thing. Do not be foolish. Do not be that person that says, oh my gosh, I should have listened to Mark. Do it now in advance. Have it ready to go. God forbid the worst day of your life happens and evil decides to sneak up on you. You're covered. It's that simple. You will never pay more than the monthly fee at $35 a month if you use that AAR promo code and save $50 on that $100 sign-up fee, and you will feel better. Again, just do it. Get it over with. I know you're thinking about it. Just get it taken care of. And if you have family members that carry, there's a family plan there. They'll take great care of you. Attorneysonretainer.us. Use the AAR promo code. When the website, the landing page is ready, probably this week, I'll let you know. Until then, attorneysonretainer.us, and you can click on them at my website. Please visit all of our partners. You can find them all, including Bud's Gun Shop, Crossbreed Holsters. I got a whole slew of their products coming this week. It's going to be like Christmas at the end of September. Can't wait. Crossbreedholsters.com as well. More about our other great partners later. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. AWR Hawkins, welcome back, my friend. Got you on the mic there? Gotcha?
Yeah, I'm right here.
There we go. Okay. So, you know, Greg and I got talking during the break, and I kind of lose track. I'm a little bit tired about where you and I were. But when we make statements, you know, I closed out that previous segment with, we're under attack. Our way of life is under attack. Is that a fair statement, or am I being, I don't know. You see, I'm the guy, and you know me very well. Personally, outside of this, you know me well. We're good friends. I carry a gun for the same reasons that you do. I get that. What's your advice to people who are listening to this program, that go to church every Sunday, that see these stories, that read your stories, that listen to this program, and there are millions across the country that do all of those things, yet they haven't yet gotten off the fence? What is AW? Talk directly to that person. What do you want that person to know right now?
I mean, that person needs to know that. I think you see this a lot, particularly in even starting with. I'm a Gen X person. Gen X, we were still, you know, we're still fairly rational, and the generations that came after us, that rationality began to disappear. But from Gen X and before us, I think you do see some folks who go to church and they think, well, guns just don't fit at church, or, well, no one would attack a church. They have special respect for a church. This is a one-off situation, and you've got to get your head out of the sand. You've got to. You've got to go back to your old school way of thought and understand that wherever you are, evil can strike, and these people don't care whether you're in a church or whether you're giving a speech on a college campus or whether you're eating fish at a North Carolina restaurant. They don't care, and you have to be ready. And you know, the same. A lot of people who don't carry a gun to church, I will guarantee you, a large percentage of them keep a gun on their nightstand. And what they don't understand there is they're being illogical, because they're thinking their life's only worth protecting, I guess, when they're at home in bed. Is that what they're thinking? They're not thinking it through. Take the gun with you. When you're at the gas station, have the gun. When you're at Walmart, have the gun. When you're at church, have the gun. When you're wherever you are, have the gun. Look at the laws of your state. don't get yourself in trouble, follow those laws, and have the gun. And that way, when some lunatic comes in, you can help him out of this world instead of him helping your family out of this world. It's much better to help him out. And I'd help him out really quick and be sure your family is safe.
You know, a lot of people, I think, don't, because you're right, your opening there was spot on. People don't want to think that this can happen. And you know, this is something we've talked about for years, right? Preparation, avoidance, awareness. And that's why I say, if you've already made the decision to carry a firearm, ladies and gentlemen, you know bad things can happen. So you're aware of that. What makes you think it can't happen to you at church? It can.
Right.
And it's being proven every single day. How many church attacks have we seen just in the last 2 months? 2 very high profile.
And the thing people need to see is we used to not see school attacks. Mm-hmm. And then people figured out schools were soft targets. And so you began to see school attacks until now. When you hear school attack, although it's heinous and you recoil, it's not out of the norm because people have figured out those are soft targets because the left continues to fight having armed teachers and having security. And folks, now what's happening is they're starting to figure out, ooh, it's not schools. I can hit churches. No one shoots back at church. Just flip that table on them. Somebody at your church volunteer to have a security team. If you know how to handle guns, volunteer to be part of that team to teach others how to shoot. And when one of these Looney Tunes comes in, have that Mossberg 940 Pro Tactical SPX shotgun ready to go and greet him. Greet him in the right way with a lot of double-aught buck. Greet him in the right way. Let them put him in a sack and carry him out just like you do the trash after services are over, and you will not get hit again. People will figure it out. Wait, we made a mistake on churches. They're not as soft as we thought. And they'll find somewhere else. That's all that has to happen.
Yeah, it is all that has to happen. And when you combine that with when eventually the churches are going to start to figure this out, I'm hopeful that they'll figure this out. I don't know. It baffles me, AWR, that there are churches and there are congregation leadership and pastors that want to think naively that this is a house of worship. We shouldn't be doing that in a house of worship.
Well, let me say something for me. I'm not giving anybody advice. I'm not giving any advice. I'm saying something for me. My kids went to a religious school for whatever the youngest school is through through middle school, elementary, middle. And the state I was in, law allowed us to be armed at that school if the school administration gave us permission. School administration didn't give us permission. But when I went and ate lunch with my kids, guess what? I had a 9 with me because if someone rolled in there, it was going to be them, not me or my girls.
Yeah, AWR Hawkins Breitbart News, award-winning, again, journalist. Thank you, AWR, for everything. I know how exhausted you are having spent all that time with us in Utah as well. Thank you for everything that you do and everything that you bring to the table at Armed American Radio and to our listeners. As you saw firsthand at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, you're a fan favorite for a reason. Ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest if you don't have an X account, okay, good. If you have one, I want you to go and just start looking at what the left is saying. Right now, today, as we're speaking, I want you to read their tweets, their posts, whatever you want to call them. They're after you, folks. None of this ends well, sadly. Armed American Radio will be back. Don't go away. 6 minutes after.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, we'll be back at 6 minutes after the hour, and we'll put the mics back up a little bit early for you. Paul Markel, student of the gun, will be here next. He was also in attendance at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. He and I have been texting back and forth throughout the day today. There's a lot of anger out there because of what's happening on the streets. But I meant what I said. Let me bring the camera back up here for you. I meant what I said. Take a look at the posts coming from the radical left. They are continuing to divide in ways I've never seen before. Hospitals are closing down. Costs are soaring. Millions of families are losing their health insurance. And Trump is using the presidency to make billions of dollars. You deserve better. Democrats are fighting back. And I can go on and on and on and on. Donald Trump and Mike Johnson are going to shut down the United States government so they don't have to release the Epstein files. Shutting our government down, hurting Americans to protect pedophiles. On and on and on. Stephen King, boneheaded loudmouth author. Anyone who speaks of assassination culture, I'm looking at you, Laura Loomer, is a dog-whistling member of the right-wing conspiracy mongers. Charlie Kirk was just murdered 2 weeks ago, folks. By who? Not from a dog whistle by Laura Loomer. And I could go on and on and on. It's right there before you. Don Winslow. We don't have to accept this. We don't have to accept this. We don't have to accept this. 9 times in a row. Pritzker, 52 minutes ago from Illinois. Illinois stands with Oregon. We cannot let Donald Trump use military troops as political props in American communities. And on and on and on. Here's U.S. Senator John Fetterman, who you would probably have never thought would be a rational voice of the Democrat lunatic left. Unchecked extreme rhetoric like labels as Hitler or fascist will foment more extreme outcomes. Political violence is always wrong, no exceptions. We must all turn the temperature down. And he links to a study at Axios. Left-wing terrorism climbs to 30-year high. That's from Fetterman. I have to wonder when he's going to make a jump because I don't see him sticking around as long as the left continues. His party leaders are the ones putting these tweets out, one right after the other. Shannon, I don't know who she is. Did he authorize our military to shoot us? No. Only if you're shooting at them. Hakeem Jeffries, 9 hours ago. This is on the heels of what's happening in Michigan. The cost of living in America is way too high, and the Republican healthcare crisis is making things worse. Enough. And on and on and on. One right after the other. Very, very dangerous out there, ladies and gentlemen. It is not going to stop. The genie is out of the bottle. The cat is out of the bag. The grill smoke has left the grill lid. You've lifted it off. It's wafted throughout the neighborhood. There is no putting this back at this point. And it all stinks. Every bit of it. Senator Bernie Sanders. Americans know our economy is rigged. Billionaires become richer while working people can't afford health care, housing, and food. If Trump wants my vote to fund the government, he must not raise health care premiums by 70% for 20 million people or throw millions off of health care. Do you really believe he's going to throw 20 million off health care? Bernie, that's illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrant invaders. Kathy Hochul, 8 hours ago on the heels of Michigan. I'm standing up to Trump's attacks on our rights, our families, and our state. New York always fights back. Governor Hochul is standing up to Trump to protect New Yorkers. And on and on and on. Stacy says, I can't believe we have 3 more years of this. I'm so mad at you people for doing this to me. How mad are you, Stacy? Mad enough to cheer the death of Charlie Kirk? And on and on and on. We'll be back in 5 minutes at 6 minutes after the hour. Pay attention, folks. We're in dangerous times.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, guys. Hour 2, Armed American Radio begins right now. If you're just joining us, welcome to the broadcast on hundreds of radio stations across the nation and all over YouTube and all those places Greg will tell you about in just a second. And if you're rejoining us, welcome back to the broadcast. It's been a very long weekend, and we're really happy to be sitting here with you after spending some time in Utah with a lot of you who were there for the Gun Rights Policy Conference. Car Firearms Studios are lit up for you. The CZ microphone is fired up. The Patriot Mobile Command Center is lit up with the on-air signs. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing?
Not too bad. Here we are, hour 2 on a Sunday gun day.
Hour 2 on a Sunday gun day. Hour 1 flew by, so I'm going to remind you and warn you again, ladies and gentlemen, buckle in, because they do. They fly right by. Greg, we're live over on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. If you want to join over there, please do. We appreciate those of you who are watching there. And Greg, I'll let you do the rest, and then we'll go to our next guest, John Lott, who was also in attendance and gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard him give, ever, at the GRPC. We'll talk with him about that, and we'll kind of tie it together with Michigan, with what's happening now, because it's all relevant. Take it away, Greg.
All right, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. To join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention to you and remind you that this is all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Please join us if you haven't already. If you don't know, if you're listening to these discussions today, if you're not a member, well, pox on you. You need to be nra.org/AAR and take advantage of all the cool stuff we're giving you, the range bags, the binoculars, and all the fun stuff. Join us, please. It's never been as important as it is today. Dr. Lott, welcome to the program, my friend. It was great seeing you over the weekend, and I got to hand it to you, John. That was the best speech I've ever seen you give. Welcome in.
Okay. I appreciate you listening to it, and I appreciate your comments. So, you just try to do as well as you can each time, but I appreciate it.
No, that was really good. It was incredibly engaging and so much information, and I love the fact that you had time to present it. You know, I think you had 30 minutes, and that's still not enough time for you, to be honest with you, but it was enough time for you to get into the nitty-gritty, and you brought the receipts that you put up on the screens. So without going into the detail of the speech, with what's happening with Michigan right now, how do we tie all of this together? Because here we are yet again, John, reporting some really crappy news coming out of Michigan. Fox News is now reporting in the latest alert, and I've been paying attention to these as they're coming in live as we're on air. 4 confirmed dead now. We know that number is going to be higher. Sadly, it is likely going to be much higher, frankly. Here we go again, John. What do we do?
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, it's your heart is twisted and crushed when you hear these things. And, at least I believe that a lot of this is unnecessary. People want to do something, but I want to do something that matters in this case. And I worry, I mean, obviously we don't know very much about this case, and as you say, we'll probably find more dead bodies in the burnt wreckage of the church there. But, this church, apparently, churches in Michigan are unlikely to have people that are carrying concealed for protection there. The police arrived quickly. I've heard conflicting reports that there may have been one of the kind of heads of the church there might have been armed and had engaged in shots. But here's the point, and that is you shouldn't make the attackers believe that you're unarmed.
Yeah.
If it were me, I would have a sign in front of the church or the school or whatever that said, warning, select people in this facility are carrying concealed and will use their guns to protect children or others that are there, and make it, because we have this Minneapolis case, we have so many others. I mean, on our website, we literally have statements from dozens of these mass murderers where they explicitly explain why they pick the targets that they do. I mean, you and I have gone through this many times. The guy in Minneapolis even explained the time of day of the attack based on whether he thought there might be somebody there, a parent who's dropping off a kid at school in the morning or picking one up in the afternoon might have a permanent concealed handgun, so he wanted to avoid that. And, these guys want to commit suicide. This guy obviously died in the attack in Michigan, but they, time after time, want to get attention of some type. They may feel wronged or whatever, or feel unappreciated. And they know the more people they kill, the more attention that they're going to be able to go and get. And to me, it's just beyond me to understand why the media doesn't quote the diaries and manifestos for these mass murderers where they explicitly explain why they pick the targets that they do. To me, that's, and I don't know how many times I can say this, but it just seems extremely newsworthy for them to go and do that. And my guess is that the whole gun control debate that we have right now would be dramatically different if even once in a while the media would report what's actually in the diaries and manifestos with regard to why they picked the targets. Instead, after the Minneapolis case, we're greeted with the mainstream media saying, well, maybe he did it because his mom used to work there at the church. Well, that's possible. That's not what he talks about. That's not what he explicitly explained.
Right.
So if you're going to at least speculate on there, and obviously they read the manifesto for these mass murder because they talked about how he talked about other school shooters and how he talked about other mass shooters, which is true. But he talked about them from what he could learn from their attacks, that he studied them, just like all these guys do. And they learn what works, what makes it easier for them to go and kill more people. And, I just don't understand why the media refuses to do it. I mean, we'll find more about this guy, but if it were me, and I know that they didn't do this at the church, I would have had a sign that just said, warning, people here are carrying concealed. And that having people carry concealed takes away the tactical advantages. I know the LDS Church, the Mormon Church, its policy is to ban people carrying permanent concealed handguns on church property, even in states like Utah where it's allowed.
Well, John, this reminded me, I don't know if this crossed your mind. It crossed my mind when I first saw this and started reading the reports earlier. I was reminded of our good friend Susanna Hupp and Luby's Cafeteria back in 1991. There's some similarities here, so you know where I'm going with this, obviously. There's a level of crazy and evil that no level of deterrence may stop. And maybe this was one of those cases. We'll probably find out. I don't know how much information we're going to get from this, but as AWR said in the previous hour, when the media slow walks this stuff, we generally know why they do it and don't give us the information. It's almost as if they know and they just are trying to find a way to report it because it's an agenda-driven thing. So let me go back to the Suzanne. I was reminded of that immediately because there is a certain level of evil that maybe no deterrent effect is going to stop. And the similarity here is, guys, if you go back to 1991, when madman George Hannay, or I believe his name was Hannay, whatever his name was, drove his pickup truck into the Luby's Cafeteria and then got out and began massacring people, including her parents. And she was sitting in the restaurant. And you know Susanna very well. You and I have met with her and worked with her over the years. And this was very similar in the fact that he drove into the church. John, there's reports that there were 3 IEDs. There's reports that the truck was beeping. They were worried about other explosives. Now, we're getting ready to go to a break, so I'll close with this. We'll go back to you when we come back. So this was, to me, that's evidence that this was clearly well planned. You don't have IEDs. You don't just do this on a Sunday morning. You don't wake up and say, this is what I'm going to do today. Clearly well planned, which falls right in line with what you're talking about. This was a super planned attack. It had to have been. There's no question about it. So when we come back with John Lott, we'll explore that a little bit. We'll make that comparison to Luby's because, guys, evil is real. It is out there. But, John, I agree with you. Just put a sign up, which would stop 9 out of 10 attackers, might not stop the 10th one. John, I share your frustration. Armed American Radio continues when we come back with Dr. John Lott. And by the way, the website is crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org. Help him out. Please help get this information out. We'll be right back. How much time?
Here we go.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, guys, you need to do that. Some things are just no-brainers in this world. And if you were listening during the break, before we brought John on at the top of the hour, I was reading some X posts and some of the hateful comments. And this is all coming within the last 4 to 5 hours, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours on the heels of Michigan. And the attacks on us and the attacks on what you believe and your lifestyle and you know, your political beliefs from the left, from the leaders at the left, is just unbelievable. They hate you. And you honestly, you can't do it alone. But when you join the National Rifle Association, you join millions of other like-minded individuals that work together to stop the attacks coming. And we'll be speaking a lot about that in the next couple segments with, of course, Paul Markel, student of the gun, and well into the roundtable, no doubt. That's going to be a feisty conversation tonight, I can promise you. So don't miss it. But join us, please, or rejoin us at the NRA, nra.org/AAR, nra.org/AAR, and help us. Just get on the rolls. And when you do that, we're going to give you a free range bag for a 1 to 3 year membership, or we're going to give you the binoculars for a 5-year or life membership. It's all available to you at armedamericanradio.com. Please join us, and you can find all of our other great partners there as well, including Patriot Mobile, patriotmobile.com/AAR, and work with these businesses that support us. And if what we talk about every day isn't evidence enough that we have to do that, I don't know what else is, okay? Help us out, help yourself, and help the country, and you can do it. It's real simple. Great slew of partners over there at armedamericanradio.com. Visit them all, patriotmobile.com, NRA, Attorneys on Retainer, Crossbreed Holster, all of them. You can find them at armedamericanradio.com. John, welcome back. I do want to go back to that comparison. That did jump out at me right away. And I would I don't know, I guess because you and I were with Suzanne going all the way back to 2010 when at the march in Washington, D.C., you and I were together at Fox News in the green room with Susanna and others and John Stossel on the Stossel Show. You know, there are similarities here. And you look back over, 1991 to 2025, there's a certain level of evil, John, that I just don't know we can stop. I mean, obviously we can stop it, but we might not be able to stop it in advance. How do we address that? And I know I'm asking a broad brush question, but I have to throw it out there for discussion's sake.
Well, I mean, you have all these different laws that all these Democrats and gun control people are pushing all the time. And I guess I wish that once in a while the media would go and ask them, would any of these laws that you're pushing have stopped the most recent mass public shooting? So like the number one that they usually mention are these background checks on private transfers of guns. There's not one mass public shooting this century that would have been stopped if such a law had been in effect nationally and been perfectly enforced. I mean, California has a very high per capita rate of mass public shootings. It's like twice the rate of Texas, for example. It's much higher than the national average. And yet California, it has that law as well as assault weapons bans and all sorts of other things that gun control advocates tell us are going to be important for stopping these attacks. What we need to do is just read and pay attention to what these individuals are saying, are going into their calculations about where to go and attack. It's not random. I mean, you live in Georgia. The vast majority of Georgia, you're allowed to take your permitted concealed handgun. There's only relatively small places in the state, and that's true in the vast majority of states. And yet, to the extent that these attacks occur, they occur in those tiny areas in the state where permitted concealed handguns aren't allowed. Now, obviously, back when Susanna had to endure the attack at Luby's, people weren't allowed to carry. She had problem with an ex. A prosecutor had advised her to carry, even though it was against the law to go and do so, because he was worried about her safety. She had done it for a while, but had felt guilty violating the law. That morning, she had gone target practice shooting, and realized that she still had her handgun with her while she was walking into the restaurant, but had resolved that she wasn't going to break the law anymore. So she went back and locked the gun in her vehicle and went back in to be with her parents to have the meal there. And after the guy barreled through the plate glass windows in the restaurant, she could see her vehicle through the broken plate glass windows and knew her gun was there. But, even she could see that other people who were trying to run out of the building were being shot and killed. Her father, when the murderer's back was to them, picked up a butter knife and tried to charge them. But the killer turned around and murdered her father. And as her father was lying there dying, her mom ran over, despite Susanna trying to hold on to her mom, and cradled her dying husband. And the murderer came over and killed her mother.
And that's when she fled, by the way.
She could see her gun, the car where her gun was, but she was unable to go there. And when the police finally arrived, they shot one shot into the roof of the building. The murderer heard that, ran into the back there, and committed suicide. I mean, God only knows if she had been there. Yeah. I mean, not only was Susanna a good shot, but, just the fact that somebody else there would have a gun, he may have committed suicide much faster.
John, I sat on the panel on that Stossel show that I was just referencing, ladies and gentlemen, with Susanna and Nikki Gozer. And Stossel asked her during that live interview that we did on the Stossel show, if she had it to do over again, would she have followed the law? She said, absolutely not, I would. Because at that time, it was a felony in Texas. She said, I absolutely would not have paid attention to the law. I actually absolutely would have been willing to, again, if I had it to do over again, to commit the felony and carry the gun. I will never let that happen again. John, I'm going to read a quote here from Senator Chuck Schumer 7 hours ago on X regarding Michigan, and I like your thoughts. I'm deeply disturbed to learn about the horrific acts of gun violence, both at a church in Michigan and at a restaurant in North Carolina. I'm praying for everyone impacted, and I won't stop fighting for stricter gun laws to protect Americans. The scourge of gun violence needs to be stopped. Now, this is Chuck Schumer, as far as I'm concerned. He's sick in his head, and he disgusts me. And I'm not alone. Millions of Americans feel that way about Schumer. But when you hear that, knowing what you know about the attack and everything that you know from years of research, when you hear that, what goes through your mind? 30 seconds. I'm sorry, but we've got 30 seconds. Go for it.
Look, I mean, one of the big problems that you have is Democrats pass these laws like these gun-free zones, and then there's a problem that occurs. And rather than going back and redoing the law and getting rid of the law that they have, they want to go and pass new laws. Unfortunately, that's a pattern that we see with many different types of regulations. You pass regulations, it creates problems, and rather than getting rid of the regulation, there are new regulations that get piled on top of it, just making things worse. And this is no different.
It's evidence of it. John Lott, crimeresearch.org. Thank you, John, for everything that you do. I know you have another interview to do now. Ladies and gentlemen, these people give us so much of our time. John, you're an American treasure. Thank you for everything that you do. It was great seeing you in Utah this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back. Student of the gun, Paul Markel, will continue the conversation. Thanks, John.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
We just love our Mike Gallagher, Greg and Dallas, don't we? He's such a great guy. I love him. He's a great guy. And he does support the Second Amendment like nobody's business. Make sure to check out Mike Gallagher, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern on Salem Radio Network, and 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time. Greg, I got those times right?
Yep,
yeah.
9 to noon.
Been no changes there? Just want to make sure, because Mike will tell me, hey, don't say that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure more than one people would say something, but yeah, no changes.
Good deal. Okay, yeah, Mike Gallagher, he's the real deal. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Car Firearms Group Studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. That rejoin marks the halfway point of the show, believe it or not, here in the Car Firearms Group Studios. CZ Mike lit up for you. Patriot Mobile Rant, all brought to you by the National Rifle Association. And I can hear people yelling, hey, turn the video back on. I'll get to that in just a second, guys. I got a couple things I got to do here. But let's go now to our guest, Paul Markel, student of the gun. And you hear Paul on the show every Friday on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. And I'm glad to say I was able to shake his paw. And I didn't have enough time with you, Paul, at the GRPC. You know how busy I was and how busy everybody was. But it was great to give you a hug. And I did miss Jared, unfortunately. Welcome in, brother. We have a lot to cover in this half hour.
The ball just never stops rolling, does it?
No, it doesn't. Is it rolling downhill?
Oh, man.
Or is it rolling uphill? I ask you that for a reason, on the heels of what we hear now after just being together at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. Yeah, you're right. Let me just say that. It never stops rolling. It never does. It never does.
Well, I was driving home, and my phone started blowing up with the news of this attack, another church attack in Michigan. And, people are like, should we do something different?
Oh, great
and
question.
I said, well, It depends. What are you doing now? If what you're doing now, and brother, I feel like I'm like standing in the wilderness screaming at the mountain sometimes.
All right, hold on. You said, should we do something different? That's a great question. I want to explore that with you. But before I do, let me read you the same Schumer tweet that I read to John Lott right before you to close out the last segment. Great segue. This is from Schumer 7 hours ago. I'm deeply disturbed to learn about the horrific acts of gun violence, both at a church in Michigan and at a restaurant in North Carolina. I'm praying for everyone impacted, and I won't stop fighting for stricter gun laws to protect Americans. The scourge of gun violence needs to be stopped. Now, one thing that I noticed, and I didn't mention this with John because of the time factor, I don't hear Schumer saying that every single day about the gun violence and the black-on-black crime in every single city run by his party. He doesn't tweet that every day. So
what did Schumer have to say about that poor girl that was stabbed to death on the train in North Carolina? What new laws was he calling for?
Well,
then?
That's a great point and a great question. So let's go there. I'm going to guess maybe he tweeted, and I probably missed it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm deeply disturbed to learn about the stabbing on the train. I'm praying for her and her family, and I won't stop fighting for stricter knife laws to protect Americans. The scourge of knife violence needs to be stopped. Thank you for setting that up for me, Paul. I didn't see that. Maybe I missed it.
No, it didn't. It didn't because it doesn't fit the agenda. And these people can keep saying the same horrible, monstrous crap that they've been saying for decades, and that's nice. But most of the country's not listening to them. And would you have? I mean, going back to the Charlie Kirk thing, I've been seeing a lot of people say, after having witnessed a man being murdered, assassinated for exercising his First Amendment rights, you can better believe that I'm not giving up any of my Second Amendment rights. And quite frankly, I don't expect Schumer to do anything else. He's been a slimy piece of human filth his entire political career, so why should he do anything differently? And as you say at the beginning about the station wagon and stuff,
and this is going to sound cold and callous, but I'm going to say it anyway because it drives a point home.
I would expect nothing less from you. Please, just be FCC friendly.
The deep state could set up a school shooting every day for the rest of this year, and I would never change my feeling or belief on the Second Amendment, and I would never surrender a single firearm. Because what we've learned, if we're willing to pay attention, see, that's the thing is you've got people that base everything upon emotion, and then you have other people that have the ability to base things on logic and fact and reason and history. Disarming the citizen has never in the history of planet Earth, in recorded history, go back 5,000, 6,000, however many, how many thousands of years you can go back to recorded history. Disarming the citizenry has never resulted in the citizens being, quote, more safe. As a matter of fact, anyone who's willing to study history with an honest and open mind will see that every single time the citizen is disarmed, they are almost immediately abused and terrorized by their own government. And I believe that more and more people are waking up to that fact. I think what we're seeing, Mark, is a shrinking of that weird center, right? That moderate center that's like, well, I can understand some, gun laws and da. I think those people are finally, I might be wrong, but I think those people are finally waking up. You know what? It's not the guns. It's evil.
Well,
and
now,
there is evil in our country.
Hold on, let me stop you because I was going to go to a Giffords tweet here. These are always fun to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Giffords' comment. In North Carolina, a gunman opened fire at a waterfront restaurant, killing 3 people. In Texas, a shooting at a casino killed 2 people. In Michigan, at least 1 worshiper died after a shooting at a Mormon church, all in the last 24 hours. Now, the responses are fascinating. But here's what's more interesting to me. This was put out at 1:59 p.m. Eastern time today. Now, for Giffords, this is a weak response, 38.9 thousand views. That's weak for Giffords, which tells me something. Because a few years ago, or during a Biden administration or an Obama administration, that would have been hundreds of thousands of views. And I know that because I've seen that. And Giffords puts out, gun violence is tearing communities apart across America. The scale of this horror is unimaginable. Our leaders must, in capital letters, act now before another community is shattered and more lives are lost to crisis that we know is preventable. Text courage to 34131 to join the fight. They're seeking money from you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And when you go through and you look at some of these comments, you see the left in here say, it's the guns. That will be the only comment you see from some bonehead. And when you look at that bonehead's profile, you'll see that bonehead is following more people. They've got a net negative Twitter following. But it will get thousands of views and likes from them and the repeat of it's the guns, it's the guns, it's the guns. And then you see from overseas the comments. When are you stupid Americans? And this is on the feed. You can find it. You can go search for it yourself. I'm not going to dig in there now because hours have gone by. It's buried in there. When are you stupid Americans going to ban your guns? And on and on and on and on. And then as I was talking to others in the previous hour with John as well, this is Trump's America. As if Democrats haven't been slaughtering each other in Democrat-run cities. This is Trump's America. 30 seconds. Take us to the break.
No, I believe that we are in a position right now where the fence sitters are going to have to make a choice. And that's great. That's where we need to be. Either decide that you're on the side of liberty or you're on the side of slavery.
Are we at that point?
And
are we at that point right now?
I hope so. I hope so, brother.
I've said for years on the program, Paul, and you know this. The time is coming when decent, hardworking, good, law-abiding, tax-paying Americans are going to be forced to make decisions that they never thought they would have to make in the United States of America. Folks, that time is here. It's been here. Open your eyes to what is happening out there. We'll be back with Paul Markel, student of the gun. One more segment. Don't go away on a great Armed American Radio Sunday Monster Cast. We'll be right back. Camera's up.
If you own a firearm, you know that a self-defense incident can happen anytime. That's why you need Attorneys on Retainer. They're the only self-defense program backed by real attorneys who specialize in self-defense cases. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yeah, guys, this is one of those things. I'll pound this into you. I'm not going to hit it too hard. I'm not going to not beat you over the head on this too much today, but good heavens, you know evil is real. You carry a gun, have a lawyer. It's that simple. Just do it. Attorneysonretainer.us. Use the promo code AAR. Get $50 off the sign-up fee. It's $35 a month. It's $35 a month. And if you need a team of attorneys, an entire team of attorneys at America's at the Freedom Law Group, ladies and gentlemen, please just get it done. Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm. Please. I screwed that up at the right there just before that, but it's Attorneys for Freedom Law Group. It's a law firm. It's so simple to do. Just get it done. Attorneysonretainer.us. Use the promo code AAR. It's $35. Save $50. Have an attorney in your pocket. Get this card if you're watching on your television sets in your pocket, and God forbid you ever need one, you've got one. And if you multiply the $35 times 12, it's less than 1 hour of a good attorney's billable hour. 1 hour, less than 1 hour. And I can promise you're going to need an attorney for more than 1 hour, okay, in a self-defense case. Attorneysonretainer.us/AAR is the promo code. Well, you use the promo code AAR at attorneysonretainer.us AAR, but we'll have that landing page up for you. Hopefully this week I'll get clarification on that, but you know what to do. Attorneysonretainer.us. Use the promo code AAR. Visit all of our partners, including Bud's Gun Shop, BarrelBuddy.com. Take advantage. Use the AAR promo code. It's real simple. AAR promo code at most all of our partners, and you're going to get a great discount. And if you do that at Barrel Buddies to clean your guns the right way, guess what? You can also become an affiliate and make money. It's all there for you. BarrelBuddy.com. AAR is the promo code. Use it everywhere on our site at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Welcome back into the Car Firearms Group studios with me, CZ Studios. CZ Mike lit up for you at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. Paul Markel, let's wrap this hour up. So continue, please. We got stopped by the break.
Well, I've got to express that when an attack at a church happens, you know, if an attack happens anywhere, I think, why weren't you carrying your gun? But when an attack at a church happens,
well, I'm not allowed, Paul. I'm not allowed, so that's why.
Well, there you go. And that's how gun control works. That's exactly how gun control works. Good guys don't carry guns. Bad guys do anyway.
That's a decision you have to make, folks. You heard AWR in the first hour. This is one of those decisions you're forced to make. Which one where do you want to go? You going to stop going to church, or are you going to protect yourself? You got a call to make.
Brother, it's been at least 5 years now, maybe going on 6, but at least 5 since I sat down. And, you know, I spent like 14, 15 years as a professional bodyguard.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, you know, I need to take that experience and the training and the knowledge I have and put it toward, you know, some use that other people could have. And so I created the Legion of Michael Church Security Program. We've got it. You know, you can actually, I wrote a book, but there's also a distance learning program that anybody can get involved in right now. And one of the main things I need to tell is like, look, you carrying your gun to church is not church security. And I hear this over and over. I say, you know, does your church have security? Well, you know, I carry my gun to church. Okay, great. So you're sitting in pew number 7, facing the front, listening to the message when the monster comes through the back door or the main entrance and starts murdering people. So now you're going to get up and you're going to try and stopgap what's already happening. Carrying a gun is not a church security plan. And if you've approached your church, and this is a hard one to make, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because I am sick and tired of innocent people being killed when they don't need to be. If you go to a church and you brought up security to your board of elders, whatever, and they're like, well, no, nah, and they give you this wishy-washy, Charlie Brown-esque garbage, find a new church because those people don't actually care. because their wishy-washy, spineless feelings are not going to keep you and your children safe.
Yeah, and Paul, it's important to point out that wishy-washy, spineless feeling is what we all want to feel. This is a sanctuary. This is a church. Bad things don't happen here. Oh, dude, get over it. If you don't know by now that those days are over, I don't know that you're fixable.
They've been over for a long
time. You've got to accept this. Understand where we are today, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention. They hate you.
That's literally akin to saying, we haven't had a fire in our church in 50 years. Mm-hmm. Why do we keep renewing the fire extinguishers? Why do we keep, why do we keep recharging the fire extinguishers and checking the tags? Why do we even bother? Why spend the money? We haven't had someone have a heart attack, and folks, it's not about your feelings. You don't get to control that. You don't get to decide when the lunatic comes into your church or school, whatever. You don't get to decide that. The only thing you get to decide is whether or not you are mentally prepared and physically prepared in that eventuality. And that is the positive thing that
to do what, Paul? To do what? Respond.
Respond.
The response.
And respond immediately.
Now, we pointed out with AWR that the police response on this was exceptional. It's one of the best I've ever seen. 25 seconds, and it was still too late.
Well, was it an off-duty police officer?
I don't know. I know that it was 25 seconds, but I know that it was overall 7 minutes, and guess what? It's too late.
Said that he believed there was an off-duty police officer who was there.
We're going to find out more, no doubt, but we're also going to find more bodies.
Irregardless, the fact of the matter is, even if you were a 2A person and you carry your gun and all that, you need to understand that you carrying your gun as a parishioner and sitting in the pew is not a security plan. Security is deliberate, it's purposeful, and it's organized.
But I do want to point out, at least it's a step in the right direction.
Well, okay, but that's nice that you're giving them that out. I'm not willing to give them that out. I'm tired of letting people make excuses to not do the right thing.
Yeah, and I hear you. Although, wait, hold on. I'm not trying to give somebody an out.
Okay.
But it's better to be armed than not armed. Let me put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Take us to the break, Paul. Take us to the break.
Brothers and sisters, like I said, if you're going to a church and your church is like, well, we're not ready for that yet, find another church. If you are going to a church and you bring it up and you say, hey, we need something. The best way to approach your board of elders is to say, I think we should have a church security program, and I already have the template. I already have the program, because that's what we've laid out. That's what I laid out in the Legion of Michael's security is a plan, is a program. You don't have to make it up. It's right there for you. And you know where you can get it, right, Mark?
Yeah, you can get it at studentofthegun.com, which is SOTGU.com, and the promo code is AAR. Tell them how much they save.
They save 15% off on their tuition.
Yeah,
and you can sign up an entire church security team, not just yourself.
I think really important here, folks, if you follow Paul's advice here and you get a negative response from that church, their eyes are not open to what's happening. And it is remarkable because, and I get it, we don't want to believe that this is happening, ladies and gentlemen, but it is real. Accept it. If you fail to accept that evil exists, you cannot begin to defend yourself from it. Paul Markel, student of the gun, man, I love you. It was so great seeing you this weekend. It was awesome. Got to give Paul a big hug, Greg. It was wonderful to be able to see you. Paul, looking forward to seeing you and talking to you again. SOTGU.com. Promo code is AAR. Save 15%. Roundtable coming up next, guys.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, Roundtable coming up next with the crew, including Ryan Petty, who, well, let's just say this. A few short hours ago, Greg, you'll like this. We got in an Uber together at about 9 o'clock last night in Salt Lake City, and then went through this weird time travel thing. And he got back to Tampa about 6:30. I got back to Atlanta about 5:15, something like that. And all of a sudden we woke up and it was like another day. 3 hours later, it was very strange. But I got to spend some quality time, and Ryan Petty's speech at the Gun Rights Policy Conference was fantastic. And I'll give you guys, if you're listening or watching right now, a heads up that most people don't know, but I'm going to shout him out on this live on the air, but you get it here first. But Ryan Petty, I made a motion during the board meeting, and that motion was, because we had a vacancy, was a motion to elect Ryan Petty as a member of the board of directors of the Citizens Committee, and it was a unanimous vote, and he is now the latest member of the board of directors, along with myself, Cam Edwards, Ryan Petty, and several other amazing people, John Petrolino and others, as a member of the board of directors of the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. You got some great people fighting on your behalf, ladies and gentlemen. You can visit saf.org and join us. It's real easy to do. It's inexpensive. And you can join us at nra.org/AAR, nra.org/AAR. You have got to get involved. We need boots on the ground, and those boots on the ground are you, okay? So join us at all these organizations. We would appreciate it greatly. We'll be back at 6 minutes after the hour with a classic roundtable, and it will be a lively one, no doubt, to continue the conversation. See you in a few minutes.
Take my guns.
Stupid user interface.
A lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hour 3 of Armed American Radio begins right now. If you're just joining us, welcome to the program. And if you're just joining us, where you been for the last 2 hours? It's been a dynamite program today, that much I can promise you. I'll have the podcast up for you, though. If you did miss it, we'll get it up for you in the next hour and 20 minutes or so when this hour closes out. And if you are rejoining us, well, for gosh sakes, welcome back to the Car Firearms Group studios. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day in front of today now the CZ Studios Patriot Mobile microphone. It's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing?
Pretty good. Here we are, hour 3, zoom.
I'm going to sell you out right now in front of a national audience on hundreds of radio stations. This is funny, and I know you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So, guys, a lot goes on behind the scenes to bring you this program. Greg is in and I love, these acronyms and stuff. Greg's at the NOC, right, which is the Network Operations Center.
That's correct, yep.
So if you've ever seen, and the only way I can describe this is if you've ever seen, remember the old Lost in Space TV show from back in the day? It's that round, thing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, the round interfaces.
The round with all the computer banks all
over
over the place in the circle.
Yep.
Well, sitting behind, Greg's got a glass wall behind him in his studio, and you've got all kinds of buttons and switches and dials and cool stuff in front of you and a $200,000 board and microphones everywhere, and behind you is a glass wall. And if you're sitting in front of Greg, which I've done the show from there many times in Dallas, at the Salem Network, behind Greg you can see the NOC. Yep. Behind the wall. And I just said, so a lot going on. Greg's got buttons to push. He goes, I got Ryan on. And Ryan's dialing in on certain things called an Opal, not just a phone and all this cool stuff. And he goes, oh, I lost Ryan 30 seconds before to go on air. And I said, okay, just make sure that I'm clear. I'm good to go. He goes, okay, it's good. My stupid thing didn't work. My stupid thing didn't work. So all I could think about in my head, because it's just me, was, can you imagine Mick Jagger being on stage in his earpiece? And he goes, I can't hear myself. Turn my voice up. And the guy says, sorry, Mick, we're about ready to go live. I just couldn't get my stupid button to work. With all that cool stuff, there had to be a technical term for that you didn't use, and it was easy. I don't know what that means. You think about me that I couldn't get it, that you said, I'm sorry, the stupid thing didn't work.
Well, it was just the user interface had timed out kind of, and it looked like everybody had logged out and cleared from my connections for the Opal, and I just
now it sounds technical. And we'll call it the UI face, instead of the user interface, and make it sound cool. Anyway, fun stuff. So here's the deal, guys. Roundtable begins right now. It's been a very long weekend. We'll talk about that in just a couple of moments. We are live for you on camera over at facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Greg, I'll let you tell everybody where else to go. Tell everybody where else to go to see it. And then we'll get started with the Roundtable crew. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just head over there and search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. If you're on X, we're at AAR Mark. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live options. If you want to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That will do it. Who got in here first?
Well, Ryan did.
Ryan Petty. Welcome in, brother. How are you?
Mark, it's great to be here with you.
Did your stupid thing work okay?
I may have been part of the problem. I'm trying a new stupid thing, and Greg and I were trying to make sure my new stupid thing would work as well as the old stupid thing.
Okay, well, your new stupid thing sounds kind of tinny. Maybe we can work on that. Greg, would you check that
we were doing that before the show.
Thing? Okay.
Yeah, we were doing that beforehand.
Brad Premo, combat vet, founder of Lead Slingers Whiskey, former law enforcement, long-time contributor to the Roundtable and fan favorite for a reason. How you doing, Brad? Welcome in, brother.
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for being here. And Justin Moon, fan favorite extraordinaire, CEO of Car Arms. We're in the Car Firearms Group studios. Justin, welcome in, brother. How you doing?
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, brother. So let's get started. And Ryan, I'll start with you. We'll go right back around the table because this is the Roundtable after all. Ryan, you and I got in an Uber last night at 9 o'clock Mountain Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, and blink, we both landed in separate cities at about 5 a.m. my time. And about what time did you get into Tampa?
We landed at 6 a.m.
Okay, so about an hour difference in flights. You had an hour different long flight. How you feeling today? Are you tired? Did you get some sleep? Are you working on fumes? What's going on here?
No, I actually feel okay. I did come home and I went right to bed, Mark, and spent the better part of the morning and early afternoon asleep. So I'm feeling like a rock star right now.
That's what the sugar-free Red Bulls are for, and my glass of apple juice here. You know the routine. So you were a participant in the Gun Rights Policy Conference this year for the first time, and I did shout you out in the previous hour, or actually not in the previous hour, but on break. But I want to shout you out now because during the board meeting this year, which is the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms and the SAF, I made a motion, and you were elected as a member of the board of directors for the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Congratulations on that, and you do nothing but make this outfit bigger, stronger, and better, and we are thrilled to be working with you on the board. So congratulations and welcome, brother.
Oh, Mark, I appreciate it, and thank you so much for the nomination. It's an honor to participate and to serve. I hope that I can serve well and bring some new ideas. As you know, as we sat in the board meeting, there are a number of topics that come up. Some of them are things I have past experience in that I bring from other areas of my technology background or whatever. So I'm ready to hit the ground running, and we've got an absolutely great board. And as you know, the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens' Right to Keep and Bear Arms, just two phenomenal organizations doing everything they can to make sure we defend our rights and our freedoms.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you right now, and I appreciate hearing that because I knew that going in, or I wouldn't have nominated you. You spoke at the GRPC. This is the first time you've attended. You had your son Patrick with you, who, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed this, if you go back a couple weeks, the day Charlie Kirk was horrifically murdered, Ryan, your son Patrick was on the program with us. He was on site there. He was there when it happened. And Patrick was there at the GRPC, the Gun Rights Policy Conference this year in Utah. And you gave just a dynamite talk, and I just want to let you know that the leadership loved your speech. It was the greatest GRPC content-wise in all of my years of doing this, in all of my tenure, and you were a huge, huge factor in that. So thank you for everything that you have brought to the table. You and your family have sacrificed and suffered, and you fight for our freedoms, and I just don't know how to thank you enough, so I'll leave it at that. I hope that's okay.
Well, I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you very much. I thought after my first slide I was going to get thrown out of the auditorium. I put up a bit of a joke for those that weren't there. I suggested that we might repeal the Second Amendment and confiscate every firearm in America as a solution to our school violence problems. And as you can imagine, that didn't go over very well with that audience. But I quickly took the slide down and pivoted and went to my real presentation.
It was a joke, ladies and gentlemen, and it led into a fantastic 15-minute speech. And you can watch it by just going over to YouTube and looking Gun Rights Policy Conference 2025, Saturday session and Sunday session. I would absolutely recommend that you do that. You don't want to miss what these amazing people had to say. So thank you. Let's get started over here. Brad Premo. Brad, Michigan popping. Here we go again, brother. Christianity under attack. We don't know motive yet. And, you know, AWR said this best in the first hour, Brad. When the media begins to slow walk this stuff and we don't get a lot of information right off the bat, you and I have been around the block long enough, Justin and Brad and others, to know that something's up. What's your gut feel on what happened in Michigan today?
I don't know. I can't get a read on it. I mean, because there's so little information out there. I mean, it could literally be anything from someone just, you know, finally just a screw going loose and it being, you know, I guess you could call it random. It was definitely well planned. It could be there's some sort of personal dispute, some sort of personal beef. This man feels like he was wronged by that church somehow.
Not according to the church. Interestingly enough, the church elders have said that was early reporting. But
okay.
So I don't know that we can take that off the table, but I did want to point that out.
Okay, well, good. I hadn't seen that yet, but you know, but really, we have like the full spectrum almost of possibilities that are still available to us. But you know, the bottom line is that you know when you're at church, it's unfortunate to say this, but when you're at church, you got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
These days, and to think that, it doesn't matter if you're Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, LDS, whatever you are. Like the left, they don't make any There's no distinguishing between those of us that are Christians. They just, we have our different opinions, whatever, but they see us all as the same, and we're all a target.
Yeah, and Justin, I'm going to set you up with this when we come back. I want to talk about faith with you. You and your family know a lot about that. Your brother, Pastor Sean, etc. So I'm going to go that direction with you, and we're going to wear it on our sleeves today, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, the Monster Cast Roundtable, continues right after this break. Don't go away. It's going to be a solid one. Back at you now, folks. Welcome in.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Guys, it's real simple. Just do it. Get off the fence and do it. Doug Hamlin, Executive VP, CEO of the NRA, just met with him yesterday. They are 100,000 gobzillion% in, as evidenced by the fact that I met him at the GRPC. I had met Doug before, but we were there. I introduced him to speak and talked with him at great length at the Second Amendment Foundation's GRPC, Gun Rights Policy Conference. They are 100,000 gobzillion% committed to our cause. But we need you to join. So if you're a member, great. Thank you for being a member. Renew. Maybe become a life member, whatever it is. But if you're new, join. 1, 3 years, 5 years, life. We're going to give you a range bag. We're going to give you binoculars. We're going to make it worth your while to do so. $35. If that's all I have to ask you to do is join for 1 year, do it, and I'm going to send you a range bag. There's your $35. It's that simple. But you've got to get in this fight. Pay attention to this conversation tonight as we go around the table. And ask yourself, wow, I should really be a member. Why am I not a member? Join nra.org/AAR. Get $10 off. It's $35 a year. I'm going to send you a free range bag. Same thing if you do 3 years. If you do 5 years of your life, we're going to send you the binoculars, 10x42s. Just get in this fight with us, please. Okay? Pay attention to this conversation. It will explain why. Justin Moon, welcome in, brother. Let's talk a little bit about faith here, Justin. The first thing I thought, coming back from the Gun Rights Policy Conference, flying all night, seeing this today, I went, oh, God, here we go again. Another attack on my faith. Another attack on me personally. They hate me. They want me dead. How much more proof do we need, Justin, that evil is real? The mic is yours.
Well, during the last 2 years, in 24 and 25, there's been an acceleration in the number of shootings happening at church.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we know that there are some mental issues with some of the shooters involved. We don't know exactly what's the cause of this shooting up this Latter-day Saint church. But, I think the main issue here is that we have, as churchgoers, we have a need to defend ourselves. And many of these larger churches and denominations banning their parishioners from carrying guns in their church, I think that kind of policy needs to be reviewed, because there are deranged people right now out there, and they're largely, in the last 2 years, it's largely been Christian denominations which were being hit. So, we do have to defend ourselves, and we do have to protect our lives and our family lives at church, unfortunately.
Justin, are you like me, and this is, it's a hard question to answer, but it has to be asked. Are you getting a sense like I am? Because I had this conversation with my wife today, and I'll wear it on my sleeve and bring it out here. But we can no longer put our head in the sands. We have to begin to look at this for what I believe it is. There's a war going on in this country. There's a war on Christianity, and it's bigger than just Christianity. That's hard, right? Bigger than Christianity. Yeah, it is. It's a war on our civilization. It's a war on our culture, of which Christianity is a huge part of, Justin. It's what this nation was founded on. So how do we address that aspect of it from a faith standpoint, I'm asking, I guess?
We have a segment of our population which has gone deeply pagan and deeply occultish, and they're borderline, dabbling in black magic and all sorts of unsavory stuff, and that population is heavily populated by trans and other deviant sexual practice groups. So,
which, by the way, is being shoved down our throat by a leftist federal government in the prior administration. And Trump is attempting, you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, because I think it's important to mention this, but Trump is fighting back on that, and that is fueling the hatred from that radical militant left. Am I right on that assessment, do you think?
Well, we as a society have to admit the fact that paganism and Satanism and occultism is deeply tied with transsexual practices as well as pedophilia and with bestiality. That's just a fact.
How do we? Let me take this to Ryan. I'm gonna get back with you on this, Ryan. The bottom line here, in what I'm hearing from Justin, in other words, is that evil is very real. Justin, let me go back to you. Am I right there? Is that safe to say? I don't want to put words in your mouth. That evil is real, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Evil is real, and evil is tied to deviant sexuality.
So, Ryan, when you hear this, we've talked about this. Now, obviously, this happened after you and I got back. We were just together hours ago, and this hadn't happened yet. And here we are today, right, having this conversation. We don't know this particular individual's motives yet. We've been watching, and when alerts come out, if they come out while we're live, we'll give them to you, ladies and gentlemen. But, Ryan, you and I both know anybody that has made a decision to carry a firearm understands that evil is real. We know that we can face evil at any time. And I don't know, the questions are bigger than us. They're hard to ask, but we've got to ask these questions. Is this indicative of what we're getting ready to face? Are we seeing the very beginning of this? How bad is it going to get? What do we need to do to defend against it? And I don't mean just having security at church. It's bigger than that, Ryan, and I don't have the answers. So I ask and I open it up for conversation. What needs to be done here, brother?
How
do you fight the devil? How do you fight the devil? Faith is a great place to start. So let me throw that out, right?
Well, let me start. Let me step back and start with, we know how this movie is going to end. Christ is going to prevail. And so we know ultimately the devil is going to lose. But that doesn't mean there isn't going to be a huge battle and that there aren't going to be casualties, because there are. So it's really the question about what do we do, right? Which, first of all, to Justin's point, which side are you on? Are you on God's side or are you on Satan's side? And there is a large portion of our population that, quite frankly, is chosen, I think, chosen to align with
evil.
Satan,
right?
Or evil. Let's just call it evil for what it is. Mark, you and I were at GRPC, as you mentioned. We were next to a comic convention. Now, I'm going to paint with a really broad brush here, and I'm going to get myself in trouble.
No, you're not.
Have
that. 30. You got 30
not
seconds.
Everybody
30
at
seconds.
Comic-Con. Yes, not everybody at Comic-Con was there celebrating evil, but I saw 20, 30, 40-year-olds dressed up in some very, let me call them paganistic or very occult kinds of costumes. And these are people that you and I would say, they should be at work, not at a comic convention during the middle of the day. But this is, in fact, what they're doing. And I don't want to throw this all on them, but something is wrong in our country where these people are not growing up and they're choosing evil versus good. And we have to be cognizant of that and be prepared.
Yeah, we're going to go around the table on this one, guys, because I'll explain what Ryan's talking about when we come back. We saw it with our own eyes. We'll be right back. But Justin is right.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka letting you know that the Desperado Sport Fishing Crew in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
Now, back to Mark Walters. We love some Sebastian Gorka. Welcome back to the Car Firearms Group Studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. CZ microphone lit up for you. National Rifle Association presenting it all. Ladies and gentlemen, we could not be here heading into our 17th anniversary. April 27th will begin our 18th year. We could not do this without our partners, which means we could not do this without you. And we've got the best group of partners we've ever had. Dynamite products. Please visit them all at armedamericanradio.com, heavensharvest.com, Centerfire Digital. I use Patriots Relief products every single day. And I have to be honest with you, I forgot to bring the emu oil, CBD emu oil that I use on my shoulder. It just killed me this weekend because I use it constantly. The stuff works. If it works for me, it'll likely work for you. All I'm asking is you give it a shot. PatriotsRelief.com, PatriotsRelief.com. You can find their link on my website. Just click on it and check it out. It's that simple. Again, the promo code is AAR. You're going to save like 40 to 50% off this stuff. I've got a whole slew of the products right here in the studio with me. They work for me. If they work for me, they'll likely work for you. If they don't, hey, no harm, no foul. You gave it a shot, right? But give it a try. We could not be here on the airwaves all these years. We would have never made the Talkers Heavy 100 without our great partners, and it requires you to participate, and we appreciate it so much. Make sure to visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. Welcome back to the Car Firearms Group Studios with me. Ryan, are we good with you? Okay to move to Brad? Did you want to say anything else to make that point, to put an exclamation point there?
Let me put an exclamation point. So just as the Savior was about to be killed on the cross, he told his disciples, "He that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one." He was signaling to them that there was a shift, there was a change coming, and I think we're seeing a change coming, Mark. It may have happened a few years ago. We may not have realized it, but we are in a battle. We are in those times that the Savior warned us about, and I think it's time for us to exercise our right to self-defense, especially in our places of worship.
You're right. And with that, Brad, I turn to you. I interviewed Sarah Weaver, the daughter of Randy Weaver. Of course, we know that from the 11-day siege at Ruby Ridge. And guys, honestly, I've been interviewing people for the last 20 years, and I'm not one to shy away from an interview at all. I went into this one, and it was one of the toughest interviews I've ever done. I did it live on stage. Ryan was there. He can attest to this. And I wasn't really sure how to approach this because of the sensitivity of what we were talking about. All I can take away from it, Brad, was in the quote that he just mentioned, Sarah mentioned on the stage with me, and we quoted some scripture, and it all seems to be coming true, Brad. It's right in front of our face if we're honest and we look at it. And I just kind of want to get your opinion, because it's really hard when you're in the bubble to get out of the bubble and look down and be objective when it's in real time, right? How do we square all this, Brad, in that context?
Well, you asked, earlier, how do you fight evil? And it seems like a huge question, but I can tell you the answer is really simple. I mean, you give your life to Jesus and you follow his word, you make yourself obedient to God's word, and that's how you fight evil. It's easier said than done. But when you do it, what happens is you will face adversity. You will be attacked. You make yourself a target because evil does not stop. It will do anything. If you're out there living your life, ignoring God and pretending like it doesn't affect you, it doesn't exist or whatever, you're going to get left alone because you're off the battlefield.
Right.
When you step up, when you step out of the battlefield, when you're David and you grab your stones and your sling, you are now a target, and so you're going to face adversity. And that's just part of it. And I think writ large, if you look what's happened when Charlie Kirk was killed, one of the coolest things about that afterwards is so many people on social media and everywhere else, these conservative commentators, all of a sudden, like, I'm going to church. That one event got more people in church, than anything I could think of in my lifetime. To think there would not be blowback from that is sticking your head in the sand. There's going to be a response. The enemy always has a say on the battlefield, but that doesn't mean they're going to win.
Yeah.
Okay. For the biggest thing, I'm sitting here looking at a quote from Stonewall Jackson. I'm just going to read the whole thing. I'm going to take a little bit of time. It's not that long, but I think it really applies here. And he said, "My religious belief teaches me to feel as safe in battle as in bed. God has fixed the time of my death. I do not concern myself about that, but to be always ready, no matter when it may overtake me. That is the way all men should live, and then all would be equally brave." That's what we got to do. That is what we have to achieve.
Justin, when you hear that quote, which is astonishing in this conversation, and Brad, I appreciate you bringing that up because it really fits into this conversation. Justin, when you hear that, to me, I'll tell you what I took away from that. That's reality. That is where we are today, Justin. Because if I had $1 for every time I've heard you say on this program, they want to kill us, I guess I'd have all my money back, right? But it's true, isn't it?
Well, you're right, Mark. I mean, when we talk about who they is, we really have to, get beyond the greatest deception that was put upon the entire world in the last 100 years. And that deception is, of course, the lie that God doesn't exist. That's the entire scientism and communism and all these ideologies which says God does not exist. But what we can see now, we can see evil for what it is. It's evil. We know that it exists. We know that it's real, and we know that it has a will. And we know that can only be the devil. So if the devil is real and evil is real, we know God must exist. And if we don't turn to God and the Almighty, we've got no chance in this battle, Mark.
Wow, it's almost like you were sitting at the GRPC. Ryan, you were there. You heard what Sarah Weaver said to me in that 30-minute fireside chat I had with her one-on-one on that stage, which honestly was one of the better interviews I think I've ever done. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go watch it. Just search Gun Rights Policy Conference, GRPC 2025, and you'll see it on day one, Saturday session. Ryan, you were there. And she said, when I asked her about her father, she said her father said originally that he was an atheist, and she reminded him that he couldn't be afraid of God if he felt one didn't exist, right? Which was proof to her that God existed. And I'm paraphrasing what she said. Forgive me for not knowing the exact words. You can go watch it and see it. But you were there. Wow, it's incredible stuff, Ryan. It really, truly is. And it, on the heels of what we saw in Michigan today, yet again another church. I don't know how else we view this at this point.
Yeah, there's an attack on. Look, boy, if I step back and just think about this for a moment, Mark. Look, I think the devil and evil would love to trap us, in whether it's in sin or in a state of tyranny, or at each other's throats. It doesn't really matter to the devil or to those that are evil. Any of those situations take away our freedoms and our ability to choose God and to choose to follow Him and to try to be more like Him. And that's really why they see the freedoms that America espouses as
a threat.
A threat.
Right.
They see Christianity as a threat. They see Judaism as a threat. They see the world's religions that remind us, as Justin said, that there is a God and that there is something higher and better that we should strive towards. They want to tear all of that down, and America and her freedoms stand in the way of that.
Justin, we have 5 seconds. What political ideology, Justin Moon, has killed more people than any other in the history of mankind? Real quick.
That would be communism.
Boom, when we come back. Yes, you are spot on. Justin Moon for the win. Yet again, when we come back, we'll go to Brad. Don't go away. One more segment.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
And it is everything I just said to you on that rejoiner. It is the only law firm, ladies and gentlemen, dedicated 100,000% to your self-defense. They don't do personal injury. They don't do nothing else. No real estate, no none of that. Self-defense. Yours. They defend you if the worst day arrives in your life, if evil visits you. This was what we're talking about tonight. Attorneys on Retainer have your back. Attorneysonretainer.us, promo code AAR, save $50 off the sign-up fee, $35 a month. Get the attorneys on your side. Put this card, if you're watching on your television sets or devices, in your wallet like I have right here. I keep it out of my wallet so I can show it to you 6 days a week, but then it's right back in my wallet, and I pull it out right before every show so I can do that. Attorneysonretainer.us, attorneysonretainer.us. They were there at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. They are the real deal. Join them. Just do it. Use the AAR promo code, get $50 off. It's that simple. And visit all of our great partners, all of them, at armedamericanradio.com. budsgunshop.com has everything you need and want, everything they have. Trust me, our exclusive online retailer, budsgunshop.com, budsgunshop.com. Barrel Buddy, clean your guns the right way. We use them here at the house all the time. All of our partners are there for you at armedamericanradio.com. Join the NRA. I see some commentary in the chat here. Yeah, I'm not convinced they're there yet. I get a lot of people who think like that. But I'm telling you, I've met with them. I was one of them. I'm fixed. Join them. That's why they were at the GRPC, to make that very clear. And that's evidenced not just by the fact that they were there, but by the fact that they are working with us on lawsuits all over the country. They are the real deal. Doug Hamlin is the real deal. The NRA is the real deal. Join them, too. And again, use the promo code and get those discounts. We're going to send you free stuff for doing it. Take advantage of it. Free stuff is always cool. I do want to point to something before I get back to the group. Vern says in the chat, if GRPC would come to East Coast, it would be easier for some of us to attend. But I understand the logistics involved. We're working on that, and we will get it back to the East Coast. That did come up in conversation. So have no fear. Next year's is not set yet. So pay careful attention and watch this, but we're looking to do that in the very near future, which could very easily be next year. Brad, I'm not sure. Where did I leave off? Did I leave off with you, Ryan?
Yes.
All right. Let's go to Brad. Brad, let's kind of flip the script here as we go through. We're already at the end of the show as far as the last segment is concerned. What is your advice to people? And this is what I want to get out. We closed with Justin, and what is the ideology that has killed more people in human history than any other? And it's leftist, communist, Marxist ideology. Justin made that very clear. He's made that very clear on the program for years, and I don't think any of us disagree with that. I don't think listeners disagree with that because it's a proven fact. We know it to be the case. What is your advice to the family getting ready to go to church 1 week from today after what happened yet again in a church? What do we need to do? What's your advice?
Well, arm yourself. My church does a pretty good job of having, armed members, working in a coordinated fashion. But if your church does not have that, start talking to leadership about getting serious about, having an actual safety team. I mean, I'm not talking about just dudes that carry permits. I'm talking about an actual team of people who train together, who know each other. It costs time and money, but it's the investment's well worth it when the big bad wolf shows up. So arm yourself and also understand, that you have to be courageous during this time. And don't let what's going on in this world intimidate you or otherwise discourage you from doing what is right. Bottom line is all of this, everything that's happening is focused and directed at keeping us from having a relationship with God and having a full and abundant life. That's what it's all about. Like, you may think that, doing whatever you want to do is the best life you could possibly live, but it's not. That's a dead end. And all this is just focused at making you think that there's no point in going to church, it's dangerous to go to church, How about when those kids got shot at the Catholic school, and all these Democrat politicians come out saying, yeah, well, they were praying when it happened.
Yeah,
thanks
exactly.
for the thoughts and prayers. But how about some gun control? Well, you know what? Like, they were mocking prayer, which is the most powerful weapon that a believer has. And like, who in a vacuum, who would discourage a Christian or a person from praying to God?
Evil and hatred. And the word that you just used is right, mocking. Let me take it to Justin. Justin, what's your advice?
Well, we should do what our forefathers did, and we should love God and our neighbors, and we should be willing to lay down our lives for both.
Do you believe enough people feel that way?
It just has to start with you, Mark.
You're right. I believe enough people feel that way. I do. I don't think we would have lasted as long. I think I'll go back to a quote from Tim Young that was on the program about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Time flies. I've lost track of that. But when he said the left should be very happy that the right has not decided to act yet. And Ryan, I don't know how this turns out. I'm not optimistic about a lot of it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how this turns out. You guys know how I feel about social media. And I went through some quotes earlier. The hatred out there is unbelievable. There's a clear division in this country. And there's a side that is at war, and the other side had better realize what's going on, Ryan. And I think the other side, being us in this case, has already realized that. But I'll let you answer that question. What's your advice? What do we do going forward?
Two things, Mark. I think you said it very well. One, wake up, people. The battle's on. There are folks that hate you for who you are, hate you for what you believe, hate you for the freedoms that you stand for, and they want you dead. They don't want you to have free speech. They don't want you to have the right to keep and bear arms. They want to control you. And so that is real. My second message is we as a nation have got to do, and I said this at GRPC, we've got to do what we did with the airplane cockpits and airplanes. And after 9/11, we eliminated them as a soft target. Now, that doesn't mean somebody creative can't come up with a new way of attacking them. That's how they think.
Right.
But our churches, our places of worship, our places of worship, our schools, our businesses, in many cases, are soft targets. And we've got to rethink how we protect them. Brad said it very well just a few moments ago. It's time to start talking to your church leaders about taking the threat seriously. Look, Christ requires us to turn the other cheek, but he doesn't ask us to sit there and allow the wolves to take us down as sheep. He doesn't require that. So we've got to be prepared, and our churches have got to wake up and understand the threat is real.
Have a sword, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan, you quoted that scripture earlier. Brad Premo, thank you, brother, for being here. Tough conversation, but one that has to be had. Justin Moon, you've been right all along.
30.
You've been right all along. They do want to kill us. How much more evidence do we need? Ryan Petty, great seeing you this weekend. I love each and every one of you. I'll quote the Reverend Ken Blanchard.
20.
And I love this. I used this when I was emceeing the GRPC. And I'll say this to you, ladies and gentlemen, in case nobody's ever told you this yet today. I love each and every one of you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your day. See you on the radio tomorrow.